Hi everyone, it is Dr. Richardson, and I am here to go over Chapter 11 with you. So, Chapter 11 covers adolescence. Please remember that this lecture is supplementary to your textbook. You always want to read your textbook and then use the PowerPoint as supplemental instruction. As always, if you have any questions related to any of the concepts, any of the content in the PowerPoint in the textbook, and any of your assignments, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. All right, so let's get started. So this chapter talks about adolescence. So we all know that adolescence is a transitional period between childhood and adulthood. It is characterized by rapid physical, cognitive, and social changes. Excuse me. So we know that during this time, adolescents or teens are going through many shifts, including puberty, and start to think about their identity and explore. And this is a period for them to start becoming more and more independent. So there will be a couple times where I will skip some slides just to save time. This PowerPoint is actually 50 slides long. So here in this chapter, we will talk about the nature of adolescence, physical changes, issues in adolescent health, and adolescent cognition. So once again, this is a time period where there is significant change and growth. So adolescents undergo dramatic biological changes that influence their physical and emotional development. They are faced with difficult developmental tasks such as establishing independence and developing a sense of identity while also trying to form intimate relationships. So there is many different stereotypes when it comes to adolescence. This time period is often viewed negatively, portraying it as a rebellious period and just a turmoil time for teenagers. However, it is important to remember that adolescents are not simply rebellious, acting out, and boundary testing are natural parts of their development. So, in order to help them, we have to provide supportive environments for these teens or young adults so they can navigate in the world. So research in social policy. Research on adolescent development can inform social policies aimed at improving the lives of young people. Understanding the challenges and opportunities of this stage of life can help policymakers design effective programs and interventions. Adolescents thrive when they have caring adults in their lives, in addition to their parents or guardians. These relationships provide support, guidance, and mentorship, contributing to their well being and success. All know about puberty. Puberty is a time where there is rapid physical growth and sexual maturing going on. This process is influenced by hormone changes, leading to development of secondary sex characteristics and the ability to reproduce. There's also changes within the brain, and also adolescent sexuality is beginning to be explored during this time frame. So let's talk about puberty. So puberty is a complex biological process that marks the transition from childhood to adulthood. It involves a series of hormone changes, primarily driven by the endocrine system, that leads to physical and sexual maturation. So when we look at puberty, it is difficult to pinpoint the exact starting point, but the most noticeable changes include development of secondary sex characteristics like breast growth in girls and facial hair in boys. So when we look at male puberty, you will find that males start to increase in body size. This is due to the production of testosterone. The testes also begin to produce sperm. Boys also develop pubic hair, armpit hair, and facial hair, as well as chest hair. Females or girls, on the other hand, is marked with weight and height gains during puberty. They begin breast development, as well as they begin their first menstrual cycle. This is a significant milestone as it marks puberty and it's the first sign that a girl is capable of reproduction. This shows a growth spurt chart. Individuals typically peak around 11 and a half for girls and 13 and a half for boys. Again, we talked about the hormone changes, the hormone roles and social influences. So early and late maturing, the timing of puberty can influence a young person's social and emotional development. In particular, early maturing boys experience a number of advantages compared to the late maturing counterparts. Early maturing boys are often a more positive self-image. They often have positive self-images about themselves and tend to have more successful social relationships with their peers. Early maturing girls tend to experience higher satisfaction levels initially, but these levels decline over time. And they are more susceptible to issues like smoking, drinking, depression, or disorders. Again, this is a time where adolescents begin to explore sexuality, so it's important that they manage their sexual feelings, new forms of intimacy. Adolescents in a period of experimenting with different forms of intimacy, both emotionally and physically. This involves forming deeper connections with friends, engaging in romantic relationships, and developing a sense of self worth in context of their developing sexuality. The common misconceptions that are common is that all gay and lesbian youth have a gradual understanding of their sexuality. It is often assumed that they will first struggle with same sex attractions in childhood, avoid heterosexual dating, and finally recognize their sexual identity in late adolescence. Many, however, experience a different pathway. So again, with the sexual identity, we have sexual intercourse. According to a U.S. national survey, about 38.4% of high school students reported having sexual intercourse by the time where they were in ninth to 12th grade. Again, this is going to vary across different ethnic groups. And then oral sex is also a common sexual behavior among adolescents, often preceding sexual intercourse. Many adolescents are not emotionally mature enough to understand and handle sexual experiences responsibly. These individuals are more vulnerable to risky sexual behaviors, which can lead to negative consequences for their physical and emotional well-being. Some of these slides I'm going to again skip over, excuse me. We talk about in chapter 11 contraceptive use. Many adolescents do not use contraceptives or use them inconsistently. And then sexual transmitted infections are infections contracted primarily through sexual contact. And then nearly half of new STI infections in the United States occur in individuals between the age of 15 and 24-year-olds. Of course, with being introduced to sex, we also have adolescent pregnancy. The United States has a higher rate of adolescent pregnancy and childbearing compared to other nations. It is important to note that this has went down. Adolescent pregnancies could carry health risks for both the mother and the child. Again, we talked about the birth rates and how they have significantly went down, and they are currently at the lowest point since record keeping began in 1940. Adolescent health is significant because, again, they are going through these changes. Substance use and abuse is also prevalent within adolescents. Factors like peer pressure, stress, and curiosity can contribute to experimenting with drugs and alcohol. And then eating disorders are also serious mental illnesses within adolescence that affect body image and eating habits. Adolescents struggling with eating disorders need access to professional help and support systems. So behaviors linked to health in adulthood. Adolescence is a critical period in development of health behaviors that can have a long-lasting implication for adulthood. So the habits established during this time period can contribute to both good and poor health outcomes. Sleep is also important in adolescence. Teenagers need between 8 and 10 hours of sleep per night. The leading cause of death in adolescence are unintentional injuries, followed by suicide and homicide. Accidents involving motor vehicles are particularly common as well. Then risky driving behaviors. Again, this is a time where they lack driving experience, and those risky behaviors play a role in their behavior. The mixing alcohol and energy drinks. This has become more common. And then pedestrians and other vehicles, a high rate of intoxication is also found in adolescents who die as pedestrians or in collisions involving vehicles other than automobiles. The chapter talks about alcohol use, smoking, parental influence, peer pressure, and academic success. Adolescence is a period, again, where we have these different changes going on. So understanding the factors influencing these behaviors is critical for developing effective prevention and intervention strategies. Talk about in this chapter eating disorders. Here you can read on those eating disorders, Piaget's theories also within this chapter. We talk about egocentrism, who refers to heightened self-consciousness that is a characteristic of adolescence. Within this chapter, we also talk about information processing and critical thinking and how important it is. During this time frame, again, the brain is making different changes. The prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, so they are not able to make those decisions that a normal adult would be able to make because the prefrontal cortex is still actually developing. School is also a very important topic when it comes to adolescence, the transition to middle or junior school to high school. It's important that adolescents have effective schools and effective resources within the school to help them prepare for college, prepare them for the workplace, and then having schools take the steps to address challenges that may be faced while they are going through this time period. And then service learning is a form of education that promotes social responsibility. It involves engaging in activities that benefit the community and give students a chance to learn about the world outside of the classroom. So there are some benefits, opportunities within service learning. And a main goal of service learning is to help students become less self-centered and more strongly motivated to help others. So again, adolescence is a time period where there's a big transition between the childhood and adulthood, and they are going through so many changes emotionally, mentally, physically, biologically within themselves and trying to find out who they really are as far as their identity, their sexual identity. There are so many things and so many changes that are occurring during this time period. It is very important that we as adults or we as family members or whatever place that you hold in the adolescence like that, we become supportive and that we are aware that this is a time where there are many changes occurring. I hope that you take the time to read chapter 11, and I hope that you take the time to go back over this PowerPoint and to really dig deep into understanding this time period during this transition for these individuals. If you have any questions at all about this PowerPoint, about any of the content, any of the concepts, anything that you read in your textbook that you need clarification on, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I will see you next chapter, and I hope you have a great week.